proud to sponsor the Midnight Madness program.
Come here every night and we defile this cinema, okay? During the course of the day, they show art house films, and then we get in here and it just gets dirty and ugly. But there's a bunch of people I really want to thank because they've all helped out for making Midnight Madness what it is, and I want to thank the great TIFF theater staff, Jesse, Louise, and Renee. Thank you so much. They've been here all day. They do a great job getting everyone in. Let's hear it for a big round of applause, even though they might take your popcorn. Let's hear it for the Ryerson staff. Ryerson staff, thank you so much. Because I gotta tell you, during the film, they're standing at the doors, they're making sure that the doors are open, you get out okay and everything, and they have to watch and make... Some of these kids don't like horror films. We've really traumatized them. We're gonna be getting bills for therapy. Let's also listen, I want to make a give up as well, a big thank you to our projectionist tech, Yorgo. Yorgo here, Yorgo. He's been here at the Ryerson since we started doing Midnight Madness, and he's the guy who makes sure that these shows run tight. And also let's hear for the projectionist, Joe! Another thing is that we have this one special gentleman who has been coming to Midnight Madness to help us out, to work for TIFF for the last 4 years. We have a publicist who looks after and wrangles all the talent. Let's hear it for Gerald. He comes all the way from France every year to help out. Gerald, thank you so much. And then, I have an amazing team of Midnight Madness bloggers who've been rocking the blog all week long. You guys, when I call your name, stand up. Daryl, Sanjay, Sashin, Carol, Chad, Ian, Robert, Sarah, and Jeff. Thank you so much for all your help. So now to business. Well, wait, one more thing. Oh! Have you not seen the thing we did with George Romero? The volunteers, of course! Let's hear it for the volunteers for TIFF. Thank you so much for your patience, your hard work. You guys are the real true film fans. Back in 1998, I was really privileged to be able to put on, weeks before I put on Midnight Madness, I put on a small little micro festival at the Bloor for the Toronto edition of Fantasia. And we were really lucky to have the director of Phantasm, Don Coscarelli, in Toronto with Angus Scrimm, the tall man, in 1998. And that's when I first met this director. And I was so happy to bring him back to Toronto in 2003, 10 years ago, for Bubba Hotep. And I'm so happy to be able to bring him back to meet you guys again. Do we have anyone, how many show hands, how many people have actually read the book John Dies at the End? You're gonna want to read the book after the movie. Let's listen, let's hear, give a big huge round of applause to the man who brought John Dies at the End to the screen. Where is he? And he's been here since Saturday watching all the Midnight Madness films with you. Don Coscarelli, the director of Phantasm, Beastmaster, Bubba Hotep, and John Dies at the End.
Wow, now I know why George Romero moved to Toronto. So, I am so proud to be here tonight, the last night of Midnight Madness. The private jets are in the air, the Hollywood big shots are on their way back to Hollywood, and I'm here with 1,200 Midnight Madness hardcore horror fans. Okay. There's somebody that Colin forgot to thank here, which I'd like to just take a moment. I think he's a national treasure. He's the creator of the Midnight Madness program, Mr. Colin Geddes. Thank you so much. movie about drugs. Anybody out there bait? Okay? All right.
That's my audience.
Well, I hope you enjoy our take on the great David Wong novel. John dies at the end. I hope I didn't spoil it there, but in any case, why don't we get on with the show? Thank you all. I hope you enjoyed it. Up a few of my, my wife gave me a list because once before I didn't invite the people up that need to come up. Okay, first off, I'd like to bring up our Rastafarian, Mr. Ty Bennett. Come on up, Ty. I'd like to invite up my partner in crime and producer, Andy Myers. Come on up, Andy. I'd like to introduce our two stars, John and Dave, Mr. Chase Williamson and Mr. Rob Mays.
Come on up, fellas.
And last but not least, in the house is the meat monster, Mr. Ches Gagliardoni. Come on up,
So, I mean, I'm going to start off with a couple questions. One, I wasn't familiar with the book until you mentioned it to me when we met up years ago. What attracted you to the book?
well, was it a drug from another dimension, or was it the talking dog, or the monster made out of meat? There are so many things in the book. It was a very imaginative. It was writer David Wong. That's a pseudonym. His real name's Jason Barczyk. And it's first novel, if you can believe. And you gotta give the guy credit. He created a new paradigm in self-publishing because he started publishing chapters of this story on the web a few years back. And pretty soon he had a full novel online, and something like 50,000 people had read it online, which was really intense. And it was picked up by a small market press. I saw it as that book, and then after that it was St. Martin's took it out as a major hardcover. He's been very successful. And he has a sequel coming out called This Book is Full of Spiders, Don't Touch It. So check that out.
It's an incredibly dense book, but I mean, there are some pages which you're able to adapt like almost word for word. Can you talk about the challenges? Because there's so much jam-packed into the book.
Well, it wasn't just the size. The book was about 350 pages, and maybe we could fit 95 pages into a movie, short enough so that an audience could tolerate it. The other problem we had was, there were unfilmable sections in the book, and I went out to the major Hollywood players, and none of them could see that it could be a movie. So I had to go back and do it the old-fashioned way, like my other films, and do it on a very tiny budget. And thank you, Andy, for helping me with that, because without this man,
And obviously, I mean, the strength of the film really is your discovery with the casting. Can you talk about how you chose these guys?
Well, they came in and they were both perfect for the role. And an interesting story, Chase Williamson had just graduated from University of Southern California and never been in any movie. He had been in, I think, a YouTube project video or something like that. And on his first day of work, he got to do 8 pages of dialogue with the greatest living actor on the planet, Mr. Paul Giamatti. So, Chase, why don't you tell us how you worked that out?
It was kind of like being a super amateur athlete and then going to the Olympics. It was sort of like you're sitting across the table from Paul Giamatti and you kind of just have to soak it in and step up and have fun with it because I don't know if that'll ever happen again. So yeah, it's hard to wrap my head around, definitely.
And Rob, maybe you could tell us about what it was like when you were offered the role and you read the script, and what do you think you were getting into?
Hey, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, wow, I get nervous. Yeah, I mean, I read the script and I was immediately taken into a different world. And I mean, I keep telling the same story, but I'll tell it again because it like really had an impact on me. But I was like reading the script and I was making spaghetti, and like the noodles seemed to kind of like turn into like worms and snakes while I was cooking it, and the sauce became like blood, and I thought it was really cool. So it had like a really profound effect on me, and I didn't really know where the script was going, and I read the book, and you know, I feel like so often like I watch TV or I watch a movie and I'm like, ah, wait, I know what's gonna happen next, there it is, yeah, right, yeah, there it is. But this, I have no idea, and like even today, I'm like sitting in the audience watching the movie, and I forget what's coming next. It's such a cool journey, at least I think so. I hope you do too.
How did you meet Paul Giamatti?
Well, I got an email from a fellow Midnight Madness director, Mr. Eli Roth, and he was shooting Hostel 2 in Eastern Europe. And, you know, as we know, Eli can be very enthusiastic, and sometimes it's hard to know if he's exaggerating or not. And he said, I just had, in this email it says, I just had a meal with Paul Giamatti, and he's your biggest fan, and he wants to work with you. And I thought maybe Eli was high or something. So I just ignored it, and then I saw an article where some reviewer had asked Paul Giamatti which director he wanted to work with, and he said my name. And so I tracked him down and had a meeting and talked with him. And then found he's a really cool guy, and that he really is into the genre arts, as I am, loves the genre and loves offbeat stuff. And you know, I was looking at him and I thought, ooh, you would be great in the Bubba Hotep sequel that I was playing. And I talked to him about coming on board to play Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, and co-starring with Bruce Campbell, and he was a gigantic Evil Dead freak and was thrilled to play across with Bruce. And unfortunately, we couldn't get that movie put together. But a few years later, I came across this script and I saw that it had this role that I thought Paul could play, and it wouldn't require a whole lot of days from him. And he read it and said, do anything to help get it made. And so he actually came on with his partner, Dan Carey, to be an executive producer and help us get it made. So it's a really sweet story. He's really a decent, wonderful guy in person.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Yes?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about that mall, the mall of dead. How did you obtain the location for that?
It was, you know, it was in the script for,
The Mall of the Dead, you were asking about the Mall
yeah,
of the
where
Dead.
that location. You know, making a low-budget movie, it's impossible frequently to find what you need on a budget. I mean, we looked into renting a real mall, and it was, you know, $25,000 a day at just a minimum, and we'd have to dress it down and all of that. I think, Andy, we had brought on some guys who, our team was very talented, and for a little period we were talking about maybe building this set in our warehouse, and that was, you know, it would have been terrible. And there's this little service which actually works for location scouting called Craigslist. And we put an ad on Craigslist and said, does anybody know where there's an abandoned mall available? And this woman called up and turned us on to this mall that was maybe 10 miles from where we were shooting, that we had been overlooked and was empty, and we were able to get in there for a rate. You know, it was kind of creepy. It might have been filled with mold and stuff like that, but the location was fantastic.
Yes, Bandiana there.
Yeah, you mentioned Bubba Hotep too. I heard that you stopped production and you were going to go back to production, like Ron Perlman. Are you still going to try to get it made? Is that what this was?
Yeah, Yeah, the question is that at one time Ron Perlman was attached to the Bubba Hotep sequel, which was titled Bubba Nosferatu, Curse of the She-Vampires. Once Bruce decided he was not going to participate, we started to think about other actors, and once again, Paul's a great guy, and he wrote a letter to Ron and told him about it, and Ron was really excited to try to take on the role. But at that point, funding had gotten shaky, and then Ron got a TV series, and it just, I don't know. It's interesting though, it feels just from this trip, a lot of people have been asking, I thought it was in the rearview mirror that maybe we'd never do that. Just people keep asking about that, and so maybe we should all write an email to Bruce Campbell and say, thanks for asking.
Yes, on the side. What scene do you wish you could have had from the book but weren't able to get?
Well, it wasn't just even size. There were simple things that just required massive time jumps. I mean, there was this one sequence where, in the book that I loved, where Dave went to sleep and then woke up the next morning, and this girl that he had been chasing was in bed with him. I don't think he even could talk to her, and she's in bed and rolls over, and he got out of bed and looked in the mirror, and he had a goatee. And 6 months had passed, and he'd found the girl and was going to marry her or whatever. But I thought it was very clever, very inventive, but there was no way of fitting something like that into the timeline that we had. So, but there's a lot of really epic stuff, and a lot of wonderful Lovecraftian monsters in the book, and we did what we could. Courtesy of Mr. Robert Kurtzman, who was the K of KNB, and a director in his own right, who not only did he build the entire Bubba Hotep mummy, but he created the meat monster. And I want to walk down here and ask Ches, maybe you could tell us, this is Chez's first movie, it's his first time at a film festival. Where did you come up with that idea that the meat monster, when he was on the phone, he would turn away from the boys?
It was all kind of a blur. At that point, I don't think, I wasn't very well hydrated, I was kind of like, but I think you actually directed, I think you actually gave me that.
Oh, I'll take credit for it. Yes. That's how you get more jobs. I'd like to also bring in Ty into the mix if we could real quick. And maybe you could, well, first off, my first question, what happened to the dreadlocks? And two, how did you approach this role?
Dreadlocks. This wonderful costume designer, who also happens to be married to Don, got me a dread wig. And it was a really interesting coincidence because I had the dreadlocks for about 12 years and I just cut them, I think, 6 months before the movie. And so Shelley Coscarelli said, how would you feel about having dreadlocks? I'd be fine with that. And I showed her a picture and she said, wow, that's really great. Do you still have that? No, I don't. But in terms of getting into it, Don did such a great distillation of the book that just reading what was on the page really just inspired me, and I went, oh yeah, I got this. I know exactly who this guy is. And when we got on the set, I just got to play and have fun. And it was really fortunate for me because I don't remember if Tom remembers, but the planes were passing by. So we kept having to stop. So the more we did it, the more fun I had. And compliment to Chase, we did one take, and I go, oh, I better step up my game, otherwise no one's going to even remember me, because this kid is incredible. And a bunch of gratitude.
There's an eager question in the balcony.
Okay, first of all, thanks for keeping the dong door.
Thanks for keeping the dong door.
You're so welcome. Well, let me just say one thing on that note. This week, I was so terrified about this, we got an R rating with no cuts. Because Ron will tell you that we had to shoot several versions of it, because I've been through wars with the MPAA, you know, with the spheres and the drilling. They always used to give me a lot of grief. And so I'm thinking, you know, that if Rob is actually going to touch this member, we might get in trouble. So we shot it a lot of different ways. So some can grab it, some can barely touch it, some can put his hand next to it. And we actually, he touched it, and the MPA was good with it. But thank you.
I mean this both metaphorically and literally. Was it the same axe?
I couldn't hear that.
Was it the same axe?
No.
Good one, thank you.
Yeah, it's totally different.
All right.
I noticed there was another Coscarelli in the credits in the band.
Yes.
If you could tell me.
Oh, well, thank you for asking. That's my son, Andy Coscarelli, did the music that John's band was singing. He's in the audience. Andy, you're here somewhere? Let's get he was the guitarist in the movie, yeah.
All right, anyone else? Yes.
I noticed the production value was very, very high. I wondered, and it also seemed efficient at the same time. Was this tightly storyboarded?
Was the film tightly storyboarded?
Really, the storyboards were only in terms of a few of the effect sequence. In terms of the, you know, the meat monster sequence, it was tightly storyboarded, absolutely. And I had another great collaborator on the movie, David Hartman, who's the animating, supervising director on the new TV series Transformers Prime, and he did our wonderful animated sequence entirely by himself with his wife, and that was a real help. But thank you for asking us about the production values, and let me come down here to Andy and let him talk a little bit about how we were able to maintain the high production values on an efficient basis.
It's a great question, Don. No, I mean, for us, my company, my participation in this movie, we primarily produce commercials. So, in kind of expanding that out to film, we were able to keep the commercial, I guess, lower budget sensibility and extend it out into larger feature film. I also want to answer the question, the lady who asked the question about, is it the actual axe? It's a Don Coscarelli movie. I don't know if it really matters.
Lady.
All right. I'm always wary of that balcony. What goes on out there? Okay. Do we have anyone else at the back? Is there someone up there? Yeah. Okay. There.
I was wondering how much input David Long actually had in the film, the writer. Was he involved at all in the scripting or the process of the film?
No, not too much. We had some conversations, but I'd certainly be open to working with him whenever. I think that part of what happened was that he had his own website at the time called pointlesswasteoftime.com, which was hilarious. And he had gotten hired by a major comedy website called crack.com, and currently he's the senior editor of that, which I think he works for super long hours along with his writing the sequel and all of that. But you know, for sure, if we ever, you know, I'd love to work. He's got all kinds of stories in that mind of his, which I'd like to not only just read, but maybe make a movie of someday, for sure.
I'm going to wrap it up. I want to. You've got so many one-liners in the film. Okay. Was there anything that you lost track on? That you had to do more than one takes? Was there something that was just like, how did he not keep on breaking up when you're delivering some of those lines?
Or do you have a favorite?
My favorite? Shit. There's so many good ones.
Yeah, that's a good question. Can't be opened.
That door can't be open is a good one.
Damn, he's good.
I like, you obviously have supernatural gifts. What better way to use them to fish for free beer at parties?
Yeah.